All right, we got Dawn the Crown here. Glaring glyph goofs. The GGG, the triple G. What kind of mistakes are people making, Don?
Hello everyone, Don the Crown here with a real quick video and talking about what I think is one of the biggest mistakes that I've been seeing while we've been looking over people's builds as they're preparing for the upcoming Diablo IV launch.
Okay.
And this is kind of like a theory crafting type of thing, but we're seeing a lot of people make mistakes specifically with glyph range. And when I'm talking about glyph range here is that when you first get a glyph,
its range is garbage.
This big red range that you're seeing here is not actually the range that you're going to have on that particular glyph. So we saw in a dev stream that rare glyphs here level up as you complete nightmare dungeons. You kind of like put experience into them. And as you can see here in this glyph, the current level is level 1 and the next radius increase is at level 15.
Wow.
So what this means is
Wait, can we go back?
Radius.
For every 5 intelligence purchase within range, you deal 3%. Okay, that's just what the glyph does. Okay.
This increase is at level 15. So what this means is that when you put this glyph, a rare glyph, into your board for the very first time, you are not going to see this radius for that.
You'll see.
Instead, you'll see something more like this.
Or will it be even smaller?
Level the glyph up quite a bit. Now, I've had a lot of people telling me that they don't think that we'll actually be able to level the glyphs up all the way to level 20, which is supposedly the max, which kind of makes me wondering if getting it to level 15 is even going to be possible. But there's kind of another thing to consider as well, is that there are not just rare glyphs, there's magic glyphs as well. I have a big feeling that we're probably not even going to see rare glyphs until maybe really rare, or probably world tier 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Instead of seeing this radius, you're going to see.
It's like, that's kind of funny because we're all preparing, like everybody's theory crafting right now around the Paragon board and these glyphs. And you're probably not going to even have a possibility of getting a rare glyph drop, the yellow ones, until Torment tier, World Tier 4. And then you have to farm where to get them. And then they're going to be a lower level, whether that be the outline he showed before or maybe even smaller. I mean, we don't know. But like this could be level 1, could be this. It's probably not. Like it's probably the like next like area out. But basically, like we're gonna have to take what potentially is a long time after we find a glyph to level it up. And then what exactly levels it? Is it just general experience points, or is there something else that causes it to level? I mean, hopefully it's just like general XP and farming will level it, and it's not something special that you have to do, because that could be really annoying. But Don here saying that it's gonna take a long time to level them. So like you're maximizing a build based off of all these different glyphs that you're gonna have a hard time finding in the first place, and when you do find them, it's gonna take a while to level them up. So, and nobody even knows what, I don't think, what the magic glyphs actually are, what they have. So like, honestly, like most people's builds for the longest time are just going to have like this little bit, like that's going to be it.
This radius on your tree. And most of those aren't going to provide really big benefits. They just buff some of the nodes around them. And so they're not going to be as powerful as what we're seeing right now with the rare glyphs. They'll still be worth using over nothing. But for the most part, I'm going to be changing somehow I'm doing my build guides where I'm not focusing on glyphs all that much.
Basically what it means is your earlier Paragon boards are probably going to be better focused around grabbing just like rare nodes and the magic nodes around them that are important to you, getting from board to board without worrying about the glyphs, and getting the legendary nodes on the boards. So like you guys saw, like when we were doing my build earlier, like when we were doing this build, right? Like you may not like, I mean, you'll probably grab the glyph here because it's right there on the way, but like your next board, what if it's not best for you to start out close to the glyph and then moving over? I mean, you probably are going to want like you'll probably go and grab your rare node And then like on this particular board that I've done, like we're grabbing other rare nodes and we're grabbing the legendary node. Like it's probably going to be more worth it to skip a lot of like the glyph stuff, maybe even skip the whole like glyph socket entirely and go rare node, legendary node. And then later, once you get the glyph that you want, you finally find that glyph, you insert it in your board, and then you respec some points into getting that particular glyph at that point in time. So you're probably going to go through different iterations of your board, I think.
That we're going to have access to them right away. And I want to make build guides that basically will help get you through the leveling process, through some World Tier 3, and be ready to face that second capstone dungeon. Because I think at that point, we're really going to start unlocking like incredible levels of gear and different modifiers. And it's really hard to actually plan out a super duper end game build when we don't even really know what sacred modifiers are going to do for our builds, let alone ancestral. We don't really know what unique drop rates are looking like right now.
There's a lot that we don't know.
You might get like one of these like super rare uniques the entire season, which means like maybe if you're a casual player, that's what it is. And if you're like a super hardcore grinder, you'll see a few, but who knows how rare these things are.
I also wonder if glyphs are tradable. Because like, you know, like if you have like a clan with a whole bunch of people playing, might be pretty good, right? Somebody runs across a glyph that they don't need, but somebody else does. You can just do a little swap-a-rooney and get the glyph that you need. Or otherwise, like you may have to, like, I'm sure there's going to be like forums and boards and like that kind of stuff, groups somewhere. Maybe it'll be on Reddit. I don't know. It'll be somewhere where people can go as like looking for trades or looking to sell like certain things like the glyphs, for example. So I don't know if they're account bound or not. I mean, he showed one earlier. Like this doesn't say account bound on it anywhere. So maybe you can trade them.
These things
That'd be
really
good.
Going to be. So it becomes very difficult to plan that tippity top ultimate pinnacle build. And we don't really know what's going on with the leveling of the glyphs, how easy they are to get, how easy they are to level up. And so I'm just intending on making builds where we're going to get through that World Tier 3 and getting into World Tier 4. And then hopefully.
Basically, the moral of this story is don't do a build for a character that most of its power is surmised from glyphs. Because if you do that, it may be a really badass build by the time you get there, but it's probably going to take a really long time to get there, if that makes sense. So build a badass character that the glyphs enhance. That way your character feels badass along the way. And then once you get the glyph, it's just icing on the cake.
By that point, it's a little bit easier to know where to go from that point. And so, for example, here we had a build we were working on with Barbarian, where I was going and taking a whole bunch of glyphs. And instead, we're just doing 2 boards here with 61 points, because this should be about level 65. And then we're just going to take the Warbringer node here and just completely skip glyphs all the way through the way here. For your glyphs, let's say you eventually get up to the rare size glyphs, you'll notice that not all of the stats are in range. And so that means that if you're picking a glyph where the like rare node is here diagonally compared to like being in one of these corners, like most of the boards, won't be able to use a main stat glyph on that board too easily. I have a spreadsheet here that has a list of all of the glyphs. It has what the baseline benefits are, what the bonus benefit is for this, and kind of some information of like what the max glyph percentage is after you leveled up and how much of that you can totally get. And so I can see here that, hey, Blood Feeder, this is a dexterity glyph. I'm going to click on the Barbarian tab down here and be like, what's the best dexterity boards? Well, I got Bone Breaker and Warbringer. So I can just scroll down here until I find these. And I can be like, oh, this Bone Breaker board in the large size, I could use a strength or dexterity glyph, and they would both unlock without any problem, without having the bigger size. Same thing with Warbringer.
God, he had to spend a lot of time making this if he made this on his own.
However, if I wanted to use a willpower glyph, this would not unlock until we had it to that like level 15, I'm calling extreme size. And so this would be a very bad spot to put that glyph, because you do have to have the stats inside the range of the
Yeah,
glyph.
that'll be good to know.
And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to recommend here for people to do. Don't necessarily plan on having the big glyph right away. And hopefully this video helped you out a little bit. If you have any questions about Paragon, feel free to put them in the comments or come by the stream. See ya.
All right, Don, that was a good video. Make sure you guys subscribe to Don if you're looking for like additional like good content on Diablo 4. But definitely some good points that he's made there. And I've definitely fallen into this trap too of you get really excited. Like you're just trying to play an end game, but you also have to consider how long it's going to take to get to end game. It's going to take about, what do we say, 80 hours to get to level 100. That's not too bad. But then along the way to level 100, you're probably not even going to find all the glyphs that you want. And then you're going to have to find the glyphs. That's going to be a lot more hours. And then you're going to have to level the glyphs, which is going to be a lot more hours. So who knows how far into the game, hours wise, you have to go to actually get the glyphs you want and the boards you want at the level that you want to use everything. So just kind of going back to what we said earlier, build your Paragon board and your class around just being generally badass without the need of the glyphs, and then have the glyphs provide that bonus, that little bit of like sprinkle on top, so to speak.